Will, let's go out to the fan hotline where our Cleveland sports beat reporter Daryl Ruiter is standing by, and I'm sure he's got some thoughts on the lunatic fringe as well. Daryl, Happy New Year to you, my friend. What do you make of all these loonies that are coming after Coach Riz that want Ryan Day fired?
I think that that's an impulsive decision, and usually when you make impulsive decisions, bad things happen.
Very well said. Daryl, what'd you make out of Ohio State's New Year's Day loss? I know you, like me, like so many of us up here in Northeast Ohio, were watching that game, pulling for the Buckeyes, pulling for Carnell Tate kind of in that game too. But what'd you make of ultimately Ohio State's end of the season? Because you were right. Miami was a team that deserved to be feared.
Yeah, my worst fears were realized. And I was obviously extremely disappointed and upset, but not surprised. But yeah, I mean, I think that a big part of it had to do with the first half. Ohio State seemed to be shocked by the physicality. And then by the time they started matching the physicality after halftime, it was a little too late. I think Sayan missed a couple of throws, so it's easy to put the blame on Ryan Day for Ohio State losing that game, but it's the players that win and lose games. And there were a couple plays that I felt that Sayan left on the field. Ohio State still needs a kicker, or at least needs to play the right kicker. But yeah, it's a tremendous opportunity missed by the Buckeyes, because winning a national championship gets tougher from here on out with the expanded college football playoff. And then they got to change that too. Seeing these empty stadiums for these playoff games, or these half-full stadiums for these playoff games, is a shame. They ought to be doing this stuff on the campuses, and maybe wait till the semifinals before putting them at these big bowl sites.
Daryl Ruiter reports are powered by Scheiben Jewelers, Cleveland's premier jewelry store. Daryl, pivoting to the Browns, feels like not a day goes by where we don't have new coaching news, new coaching updates. The latest out of New York, again, Kevin Stefanski anticipated to be a candidate for the Giants' head coaching vacancy should the Browns make a move to move on from Kevin Stefanski. It feels like the Giants are super interested in Kevin Stefanski at this point.
Well, it's kind of old news. I mean, that's been out there, it feels like, for a couple of weeks now. And, I'm leaning towards Kevin is going to be available for them to hire. So, and, we'll see ultimately what the Browns decide to do on Sunday. Does their decision leak out before the game? Which has happened before. Does it happen during the game? Does it happen after the game? Do we have to wait until Monday morning? But my gut tells me the Haslams know exactly what they want to do organizationally, even if they've maybe not made those intentions known publicly. And we just have to sit and wait and see what that is. But the Giants' interest in Stefanski, like I said, that's been out there for a couple of weeks.
Daryl, moving forward, we were talking earlier about, if it does happen, possible replacements, and one of the names out there is Mike McDaniel. The guy I brought up was Brian Flores. What type of coach would the Browns be looking for? I'm at the point where I think the Browns need a football guy, a guy who doesn't rely on numbers. Is that a possibility, or do they have who they want and who they're going to hire and the type of person they're going to hire?
Well, you want a football guy, but you also want someone who is open-minded to analytics, and I know analytics is a bad word around these parts, but like analytics is not bad if it's applied properly. The thing that I've contended, Coach, is I feel like that the Browns have misapplied the analytics at times, right? It's okay if the spreadsheet tells you in a situation you should go for 2. But you also have to be intelligent enough to understand you don't have the personnel to execute that. So it's stupid to do it. You're like, okay, great, the data says to do it, but if you don't have the players that can accomplish it, then you're just being bullheaded. And that's what I think has happened with the Browns' application of analytics. Is they just say, well, that's what the spreadsheet called for in that situation, so that's what we called. The one thing, there are a couple things that analytics cannot tell you. They can't tell you if a player loves to play the game, which is very, very important, right? Jed Wills is Exhibit A of that. Analytics cannot give you game feel, right? How a game is going. Just because the situations, just because the numbers say, hey, it's 4th and 1, so you should go for it in that situation. But, if you've watched the game and, you're struggling to gain short yardage situations and things like that, then maybe you shouldn't go for it in those situations, right? So for me, it's not just about having a football guy or a pure football guy, which I do feel like they do need that in the personnel department, because I think that the analytics are messing with personnel moves that they're making a little bit. Football talent matters, not the numbers. The numbers help you when it comes to making your decisions. I think that you need a football guy who can inspire and can get the best out of his players, while also at the same time using the data and the probabilities that they're given to, have that advantage on game day.
Daryl, might be a silly question just because when you scroll out and you look at the macro view of this thing, it's a football team that just has not won enough games. But is there a chance? It feels like we're heading towards a head coaching change here in some form or facet with Kevin Stefanski. But is there a chance that if the Browns beat the Cincinnati Bengals, that complicates what's to come, or is a change independent of the outcome of Sunday's game?
Well, as I said earlier, I think the decision's been made. We just don't know what the decision is. And look, if you're expecting the outcome of the Bengals game to decide whether or not you're going to keep Kevin Stefanski next year, your decision-making is completely flawed. Which, again, that's, par for the course with the Cleveland Browns. But that's just how I feel about the situation. You either want this guy, you either believe that Kevin Stefanski is the guy that can get you back to the playoffs and help you compete to win a Super Bowl in the coming years, or you don't. Like, for me, there's no gray area of, well, let's see what they do on Sunday. The facts are 7 wins in the last 2 seasons. The facts are that, this team plays hard for Kevin. They have not packed it in. And so clearly, and Denzel Ward said this yesterday, this isn't just on Kevin. This is on us. We didn't go out and do our jobs as players. And by the way, there's something to be said for that as well. Kevin can't go out and throw the football. He can't run it. He can't, Like, all he can do is just make the decisions, and put them in the best possible realm, to be successful. But, and it goes back to our, the Ryan Day thing, right? That's the coach's job. Are you putting your players in the best position to be successful? Are you getting the most out of your players' talent, or and things like that? And look, I think that there are times where Kevin does that in an outstanding level, and then there are times when I feel like Kevin falls short. So that's kind of where I'm at right now.
Darryl, what's your take on Jim Schwartz? What's his? Do they value him as much as for example, I do. I think he's just an elite defensive coordinator, especially with this roster and these guys who fit his scheme. Do you think he's part of what they're thinking moving forward, regardless of what happens at the head coaching position?
Well, first of all, if there is a coaching change, the new head coach is going to determine who the coordinators are. You cannot hire a head coach and then neuter him right out of the gate and say, Jim Schwartz is your defensive coordinator, Tommy Reese is going to be your offensive coordinator. That's just not how this works, okay? No, and if you do something like that, you're going to get a head coach with no power whatsoever. And then how can he be a leader of your locker room, right? When the organization right out of the gate. So you have to empower that coach to make his own coordinator decisions. In a perfect world, look, I like to see Tommy stick around, like to see Schwartz stick around. I think Jim Schwartz would like to become a head coach. I don't know that Jim Schwartz wants to do that here. He has had a front row seat to how this organization operates. And I don't know necessarily that I'm convinced that he would be wanting to operate within those parameters. I think he's fine as defensive coordinator here. I think he's, happy with that. But as far as, taking on the responsibilities of being the head coach and dealing with some of the things that Kevin Stefanski has had to deal with in the last couple of years, I don't know that Jim Schwartz wants to sign up for that. But every coordinator, every coach, they want to be a head coach. So, there's nothing wrong. And look, I do feel like Jim Schwartz should get a look this hiring cycle. I think a team would be smart to hire him. I think he learned from how he handled things in Detroit as head coach of the Lions, where he did have some success. And then, you look at what he's done with this Browns defense in the 3 years that he's been here. He's done an incredible job. Certainly deserves a tremendous amount of credit for helping Myles Garrett get to the next level, so to speak. So I certainly would have no problem if Jim Schwartz's name would be on the Browns' short list should they make a head coaching change. But again, I'm not convinced that Schwartz wants to sign up to coach here.
He is Daryl Ruiter. His reports are powered by Scheiben Jewelers, Cleveland's premier jewelry store. Daryl, appreciate you popping on with us, and we will both talk to you on Sunday on the Browns pregame show right here on The Fan.
Or, as we should call it, Coach Watch 2026.
That's right.
Coach Watch 2026.
Happy New Year, my friend.
Is that what we're coining it?
Well, that's what I'm calling it.
All right.
You call it whatever you want.
All right. Coach Watch 2026 could be on Sunday. Daryl, appreciate your time.